We've been a little spoiled in recent years with a whole new wave of racing games coming in, trying different approaches, but ultimately it all falls down to it being cars on tracks that try to either emulate real racing or at least keep that essence of it alive. Grip is not that. Grip is in a lot of ways the exact opposite of it. Being its spiritual successor to Roll Cage, which was a PlayStation 1 game that tried to take the Wipeout style of game and throw it on its head a bit by allowing you to drive up walls or jump onto the ceiling and jump around. It added a bit to it, but nothing really came of it in terms of the series. Grip does take actually a lot of that, but sort of brings it to a more modern sense of visuals, control, and overall a really enjoyable progression through the career and just single races that you want to do. In Grip, the main things you do is either race or do battle, and equally they're a lot of fun to do. They have different approaches where the battle have these little arenas, and the whole goal, as you can probably guess, is to obtain points by attacking your opponent and blowing them up, as well as hitting barrels around the map. Now the barrels add a lot of points, the AI doesn't hit them, kind of makes it unbalanced. However, it is still fun to do, and then when you've got it in the tournament, it's just enjoyable to play around. It is in its core racing that really this game comes into its own. The two main types of racing is one with weapons and one without weapons. Equally fun. Sometimes I enjoyed not having weapons and just had it come down to racing, especially when you're trying to learn the track. And then the other one with the weapons just add a bit of variety to it. There is rubber banding, as you probably expect from a single player game, well, at least a single player aspect. But regardless, the environments you travel, they're quite diverse. It's sort of like a future look at things, but not exactly very high tech. But one of the coolest things is the cars themselves, or at least the vehicles you're on. They look pretty damn cool. They're like futuristic RC cars that, you know, like I said, you can jump into the air and you can flip and land on essentially the back of it, and it will still keep going forward. You can drive up walls, you can jump off ramps to the side walls or to the ceiling, and this adds a lot to it because it opens up a lot more sort of variety in terms of paths you take that can help you get along. So if you see there's a lot of like battles going on ahead, or at least you're surrounded by a few enemies, you could try take a different path and it adds to it. You can take risky maneuvers by going up walls or jumping off ceilings, and it may sound pretty simple, but it does add a lot to how the game plays and feels, because not only does it have the sort of different approaches to controlling the vehicles like that, it really ratchets up the speed in later races to the point where it's Wipeout levels of craziness, but can imagine Wipeout but also jumping on ceilings and walls a little bit more than you could already. And you've got this makings of one of the more unique racing games to release in recent years. It's not perfect. If you're not into if you don't like it after the first couple of races, there's not much that's added later on that will make you sort of fall for it or anything like that. The weapons are rather standard. You have like a minigun, you have rockets, you have multi heat-seeking rockets, and a shield and a couple of other things. There's not a lot there, I'll be fair, but there's enough to sort of add enough fun to each race, or at least the battles. But one of my favorite parts about the game was the environment. I think on PC at least this game looks really well, plays really smoothly. I never had any hitching or issues on 1080 or 4K, but what you're seeing here is 1080 on a PC in the highest settings, and it looks fine. It plays really well. I had a blast with it, playing so many different racing games where it's cars. It had sort of made me realize how a little jaded I started to become of it, because once I started playing this, even though even the visuals, like, not technically but stylistically, this sort of feels like of the 90s era, and even with that, it just sort of made it feel fresh again, and I had an honest blast playing the game. It's not for everyone, but for those that are interested in it, it's good to have a game like this, especially for racing fans.